know what you guys are thinking. But Stix, WildStar shut down in 2018. Why are you taking me on this roller coaster of emotions all over again? And the answer is simple. I was thinking about really good MMORPGs, games that were really unique, that were really different, but never ended up really taking off. And WildStar just happened to cross my mind. Not because it never took off, but instead because it was taken from us way too soon. Whenever I read about WildStar, whenever I ask people about WildStar, they never really have anything other than positive things to say about the game. So why is that? If you ask people about Bless, you get nothing but hate, nothing but loathing and utter disgust. But WildStar, people seem to love WildStar. So why did WildStar shut down, and is there any chance of it ever relaunching? That is kind of what I want to talk about today. So if you're new to the genre or just never really played WildStar, then allow me to give you a little backstory. WildStar was an MMORPG developed by Carbine Studios and published by NCSoft. It was essentially NCSoft's answer to the titan that is World of Warcraft. It released back in June 2014 as a pay-to-play title and changed to a free-to-play model a year later in September 2015. You might be wondering how a game that had the funding that WildStar had, the backing of a studio like Carbine and NCSoft, could fall to such a point that it could warrant the complete shutdown of the game, right? Well, there were actually several different reasons for that. The game's launch was a critical failure. Sure, plenty of MMOs mess up their launches, that isn't really all that uncommon. But when you're charging people for either a physical or a digital copy of the game and then requiring they also pay a monthly fee to log in, and the game is in a heavily incomplete state, it leaves a bad first impression. Then the game was designed for raiders, which, you might actually contest this opinion, but be real for a moment. While the game was pretty casual for the most part, upon reaching endgame, you were forced to either raid or, yeah, that was it. You would raid. If you look at games like World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy XIV, which both have very active raiding scenes, raiding is only done by a minority percentage of players. There are several times more non-raiders than those that actively raid. And both games have a large surplus of content to do that is not related to raiding. And the game also had multiple relaunches. This not only showed the lack of faith that Carbine and NCSoft had in their title, but also showed the community that they had no idea what they were doing. Honestly, I could just go on listing different reasons that the game failed to really take off, but it more or less comes down to just multiple instances of mismanagement of the game. WildStar started off as a pretty limiting game, however, over time it grew into something much better, something much more unique. The WildStar community can attest to this. I played it back in 2017 through 2018 for the channel, and I enjoyed my time in it over the course of my time playing. Yeah, the game was a little confusing at times, but the humor, the action combat, the setting, the characters, if this was a game we received when it first launched, I feel as though it would have been a much greater success. Maybe it would have even survived a business model change to a buy-to-play game or something instead of failing as a free-to-play MMO. I miss exploring the world, I miss the PvP that I got to participate in, I miss the PvE content, but most of all, I miss the combat. I remember when I did my first video on WildStar, which was a really long time ago, I was just so surprised by how good it looked and how good it played. I wanted to play as the spell slinger, but I ended up going warrior because I wanted to tank through dungeons. The world was so large though, it was incredibly detailed, there were constantly things to do while leveling, and there were several methods you could actually employ to level. The quests, the story, everything was completely voice acted, and the game actually had a story, an actual narrative, a focus behind merely leveling for the sake of leveling. WildStar had such potential to be an incredible MMORPG. It really did. If only they had taken the time to perfect the game instead of rushing to get it released as fast as they could, they probably would have had a title that could have stood the test of time. Alas, what we got was a broken mess for the entire first year, and an even larger mess when they tried changing business model to a free-to-play title. The WildStar subreddit community is still active and people still chat there from time to time, hoping that private servers for the game open up and allow for players to relive what was, at the end of its life, a very good game. Now, I've seen people both on the MMORPG subreddit, on the WildStar subreddit, and even on just general different forums ask the question, should WildStar relaunch? And the answer is no. WildStar should not relaunch because NCSoft do not know what worked for the game, and obviously they have absolutely no idea what ruined it. Even if I would love to see it come back, even if there are tons of players, thousands of players that would love to see it come back, it would just ultimately end up failing under the pressure all over again, just like it did the first time and the second time. But then be honest with yourself here. When do NCSoft not screw up their games? But hey, that's just my opinion, my impressions of WildStar. What do you guys think though? Let me know down in the comments below and let's talk about it. Anyway guys, that is it for me. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.
Someday soon I'm gonna make it. Yeah.